before you go in the top Lambert room, and then you just have to remember this is the other one.
That's perfect.
Yeah, that's nice. Good morning, everybody. Come on in. Please take a look at the view. We're blessed with a spectacular sunny day, so we can see the whole vista. Welcome. This is the Thompson Room. My name is Amy Korczynski. I'm the bank's archivist and manager of corporate heritage, meaning I steward the bank's material history and act as its memory. We have a collection of artifacts, ephemera, news clippings, furniture, architectural records, marketing materials, anything you can imagine relating to the bank's history, including very deep records that document the construction and design of this remarkable complex TD Center. The 54th floor is currently split between TD Restaurant on the south side and TD's Executive Suite on the north side. And with the exception of maybe the Lambert Room only at that end, this floor appears almost exactly like it did when the buildings opened in 1968. Unlike major cities in the US, Toronto did not get a high-rise modern office tower until relatively late. The first of the original pair of black steel and glass towers at King and Bay Streets opened in 1968. The project was one of the last that architect Mies van der Rohe designed before his death in 1969. It is the largest intact complex of his design in the world, and therefore a site of global heritage and interest among fans of design and architecture. With TD Center, like in every one of his projects, the architect paid attention to the small things. It is filled with countless details that make it special and give the floor an air of prestige and importance. He was involved in floor plans, the selection of materials for the interior, including the design of the furniture. He even suggested to the bank the exact masterworks of European art that he felt suited the space, and you'll learn about that a little bit further along from one of my colleagues. So the Toronto Dominion Bank dates back to 1855 with the founding of the Bank of Toronto, just over at Chirp Street in the St. Lawrence district. And the Dominion Bank, which was founded in 1870, they merged in 1955 to form Toronto Dominion Bank, and it quickly became clear that TD needed a new building to accommodate its growing staff and range of services. In the early 1960s, TD President Alan Lambert sought an innovative approach for developing the area. He visualized a modern complex that would inject new life into the downtown core and lead the way for further redevelopment. With this in mind, TD partnered with Kemp Investments in a joint venture to build Toronto Dominion Center. TD and Kemp looked for a consulting architect with the necessary vision to make the center a focus of national and even international attention. They considered innovative design to be a crucial element in the success of Toronto's most ambitious high-rise project to date, and they turned to Mies van der Rohe, now widely acknowledged as one of the greatest architects of the 20th century, whose minimalist philosophy had guided pioneering designs for such legendary buildings as the Barcelona Pavilion, 1929 in Spain, and the Seagram Building, 1958 in New York City. With the TD Center, though, Mies had the opportunity to set the buildings back from the streets and place them on a landscaped plaza, a rare and new open space in the heart of the busy city, seamlessly linking the towers through their transparent open bases. Mies died in 1969, August, and since then 3 additional towers have been added to the same site in the same style. In 2003, the City of Toronto designated the original 2 towers of the Banking Pavilion and the Banking Pavilion under the Ontario Heritage Act, naming them an outstanding example of the international style of architecture and a landmark of the modern movement in Canada that set the standard for the urban development of Toronto. We are here in the Thompson Room, which was named for Richard Murray Thompson, one of our past presidents. In 1972, at the age of 38, Thompson became the youngest president in the history of Canadian banking. 38 is pretty young to step up into the biggest shoes in the bank. Mr. Thompson was the right-hand man to Alan Lambert throughout the design and construction process. So he was the main conduit, the main link between Kemp Investments, all the parties, Kemp Investments, Mies's office in Chicago, and the bank here in Toronto. Does anybody have a question? I might have time to take a question.
So we're at the Archivist, and there is a space tower the elevator was last December. Yeah, well, I don't think so. Yeah. We want to make sure that he has one. So it was like a very concerted effort on in general. Our members on the floor. very piano. Yes, yeah, she's Montreal based. She's from, but she's also from States. So, she works at like different time. She's like an archivist.
And the building in 100 Wellington that's across the way, you kind of have to look through the trees, but if you look on the north side on the second floor, there are 3 panels that are darker. And we did a mock-up that basically, we did it in 2015. We did it exactly the same way that we repainted these towers, just so that we know, are we doing the same thing when it comes time to do those towers, right? This is how much planning it takes us to do something. And to paint the towers, you can only paint in temperatures above 10 degrees. So, and then they would use a gray primer. So there are lots of pictures floating around of like sections of the buildings gray, right? Because that was when it was being primed, and then it gets painted black. And it's a very deliberate thing because literally our consultant could go, hey, you missed a spot. It's not only for aesthetic, but it's also part of the protective system that protects the steel. So it's important to have enough coverage, right? The next time it gets done, we think it needs to be taken back to bare metal. How you do that on a high rise in an urban core, I don't know, but it won't be. That's all I know. So we think we're hoping for like 40 years. So it's funny because in our last group we've had kids, and I was like, so when you come back, yes.
What will be done regarding the rental thing because of the CIBC doing a huge thing down at the water and COVID and people not coming back to work? Is the whole building still rented?
We are currently filled in this tower. So, well, there might be a few floors. Actually, there are a couple of floors, but we're mostly filled right now. Yes, incredibly competitive.